Hello everyone, I'm Shalika De Silva. I would like to welcome all of you to this month's Clarity of Mind through Mindfulness session. Last month we started a series of Dhamma talk on 10 perfections and Pant introduced the first perfection which is the generosity. Today we are going to move to the second perfection, morality. Now I would like to invite Venerable Panadure Chandarathana Thero to take a deep dive into this very important topic. Thiruvan Sarnai Bante.
So, as Shalika mentioned, morality or sila is the second perfection, and something that sometimes we ignore, thinking that we may not need it, and something that which is relevant to the say early stages of our spiritual life, or something which is necessary only for young people. And likewise, I mean, we have different kinds of views related to the sila or the morality. Now, on the other hand, if we consider it deeply, actually, uh, if we consider it deeply, actually, sila and panya go hand in hand, and therefore we can't neglect sila or morality as we are progressing. Now, if we consider the typical training rules considered and observed by various levels of people, actually lay people, laymen and lay women observe five precepts, Panchasila, and then sometimes when they are going through intensive meditation retreats, and again on the Uposatha days, they undertake eight precepts, which actually helps them to maintain celibacy and again sort of avoiding any kind of an entertainment. So some sort of a restrainment is there when we are coming from five precepts to eight precepts. And sometimes certain lay people still go through the 10 precepts where they even get rid of using money, and that is something available in the Samanera Dasasila and the Samaneri Dasasila. That is where the novice monks and novice nuns are undertaking. Now, this Samanera Dasasila is something where that kind of a shift happened. So previously we were in the lay life, and now one is complete renunciant, and now going through a kind of a training to become a high ordained monk. On the other hand, the high ordained monk, bhikkhus, actually they have the Patimokka Sangvara Sila, where Buddha elucidated many training rules, and altogether there are 227 rules for monks and 311 rules for nuns. And this is how typically, if we consider the spectrum of different training rules or precepts are considered, so we can get this kind of an idea. And on the other hand, uh, why we need sila? So this is something sometimes again and again asked from the Buddha. So directly, for example, Venerable Ananda asked, what is the reward and the blessing of the wholesome morality? In other words, what is the result or the kind of the outcome of the sila? And then Buddha mentioned avippatisarathani ko ananda kusalani silani avippatisara anisansani. Now, Buddha mentioned freedom from remorse is the result, is the fruit of this maintaining or observing precepts. Now, why this happens? So, this is something interesting. Now, basically, if we consider our typical way of life, so we sometimes ignore our consideration towards others, even consideration towards ourselves, and we ignorantly behave, and sometimes later we regret of what we didn't and what we mentioned, what we talked, what we have uh, thought. So likewise, so there are certain regrets or remorse are possible when we are not that mindful about our conduct, and not only through the body, even through the words. So we are not mindful, and again we are not much bothering, we are not careful about what we are doing. But on the other hand, when we are so considerate, when we are concerned about how we are using our words, how we are using our body, so then actually not only ourselves, even the others are getting benefited. So as a result of that, when we look back, there is no reason for us to be regret. So there is no reason to remorse because we have lived a good life. So it's on the other hand, we have kind of an appreciation, kind of a joy about our way of life, rather than we feeling kind of regret. Now this is where Buddha highlights that this non-regret or freedom from remorse is the main fruit of our morality. And if we consider five precepts, and these are very practical, and again, it's a clear cut, it's more and more humane, and it's worthy of respect. I mean, if we consider five precepts, actually, they are not extremely difficult to practice, and they are not impractical. But on the other hand, they are not negligible. They are something. I mean, we have to contribute. We have to behave properly. We have to have some sort of a contribution coming from our side. So in that respect, it is something. It is something practical. And again, it's a clear cut, and there is no any kind of a vague definitions given with respect to precepts, but it's very well defined. As a result of that, I mean, you can't have some sort of loopholes to break or go through these precepts. Rather, Buddha in black and white things are mentioned, and therefore it is very clear. There is no any vagueness or any kind of a doubt, uh, perplexity related to the precepts. Rather, they are very well mentioned. On the other hand, it is quite humane, and you can understand even you don't need to be a Buddhist. The society doesn't need to be a Buddhist society, but still, whoever undertakes five precepts, basically, uh, they have kind of a humane society, and within ourselves also we feel that we are and become more and more human. And on the other hand, whoever for practicing five precepts are worthy of respect. Because I'll go through the things later. So basically, when we are practicing five precepts, it is not only ourselves which are developing and being protected, but we as a whole are protecting the whole environment, protecting the whole society, and therefore society at large also have a kind of a benefit when someone is protecting five precepts. And there are various suttas that Buddha highlights these benefits, these gifts, when one is practicing five precepts. For example, in the Abhisanda Sutta, coming in the Anguttara Nikaya, so Buddha mentioned Panchimani Bhikkhave Danani Mahadanani. Now, you know, we last time discussed about the generosity, dana, and now Buddha mentioned now practicing five precepts actually is a type of a generosity, and it is not only that, it is the great generosity. And it is mentioned it is Aganyani, Rattanyani, Vansanyani, Puranani. That means it is coming from the ages. It is not something that our Buddha invented. Rather, it is the coming from the whole lineage, coming from generation to generation. It is not unique to our Buddha, and it is common to all the Buddhas. And they advocate, they sort of appreciate, they recommend these five precepts for the betterment of the whole society. And it is quite ancient. That is why it is called Puranani. It is quite an ancient practice. It is not something we newly invented. Rather, it's a very ancient practice. And again, it is unadulterated. No one has challenged it. No one can challenge it because it's quite evident the benefits and how one is being benefited and how the society at large going to be benefited when one is practicing five precepts. So this is well understood, and therefore no one is sort of challenging it, and there is no suspicion about it, and there is no even suspicion in the future. It's a kind of unfaulted by the knowledgeable contemplatives. So therefore, this is something that Buddha highlights when he is mentioning about the five precepts, and one by one, then he is taking and explain how it becomes so beneficial. So, for example, when someone is abandoning the taking of life, abstain from taking life. So, Buddha mentioned, "Ida bhikkhave arya savako panatipatam pahaya panatipata patividato hoti." Now, so Buddha mentioned, so if someone is abandoning uh, taking of life and then maintain a kind of compassionate life, freedom from any danger, and actually when he is doing so, he giving some freedom to the other society as well. Whoever close to him, whoever associating him, are free from any kind of fear, because they very well know this person is harmless. He will never harm me. He will never kill me. And even the animals may feel it, because if you are maintaining that kind of attitude, if you are maintaining that kind of a behavior for a long time, then actually the others start to trust you. They feel that you are an innocent person, you are a respectable person, you respect other one's rights, other one's say life. And as a result of that, so he is actually giving freedom to the whole society. So Buddha mentioned, in giving freedom from danger, freedom from animosity, freedom from oppression to limitless numbers of beings, he gains a share in limitless freedom from danger. Now, not only he contributes, not only he shares this kind of a freedom, as a result of that, he himself actually share it, and he may walk through, but the others may not harm him. It's a kind of a win-win situation where you are also helping the whole society by giving kind of harmlessness, freedom from any fear, and as a result of that, you also start to benefit. You also start to feel that you will be sort of protected. There's no one is going to harm you. So that kind of a feeling is there. So this is the first gift Buddha mentioned. On the other hand, if we consider the stealing, now assume that someone is not stealing, then he is actually giving some protection to the other's properties. It could be a common thing, it could be a public thing, it could be a private thing, whatever the property. Now he is actually protecting, he is not stealing, he is not harming, and as a result of that, his whatever his possessions are also getting protected. It's a kind of a law, law of karma, that if you are providing freedom, if you are providing sort of trust, and if you are providing that kind of an attitude towards the others, then you also get the same type of benefits. And similarly, Buddha mentioned, if you is abandoning illicit sex, so then you also may experience that kind of a avoidance, that yourself and your loved ones may not be exploited by others. And on the other hand, when you are not lying, once you are abandoning lying, that actually helps to in the society at large to benefit, because you become a trustworthy person and you are a dependable person. And on the other hand, when uh, other people get to know that you are a trustworthy person, and you feel kind of benefited, and you feel reputed, and others may start to trust you, and they even assign you various confidential tasks. So likewise, there are many benefits coming on your way as well. And on the other hand, when you are avoiding the intoxicants, say various kinds of drinks, alcohol, so there the others start others start to know that you are sort of a sober person, and you are well behaved, and whatever the other tasks which require that kind of a heedful approach, the others are not sort of resistant or in doubt to assign that to you, because you become more and more dependable, trustworthy, and heedful person. And on the other hand, there are various other suttas. Buddha mention blessings coming through the practice of morality. And here in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, Buddha mention, if one is practicing morality, great increase of wealth is happening, because this person become diligent, is a heedful person. And on the other hand, uh, And on the other hand, your reputation is now going to be spreaded, and whenever you are talking among a crowd, you become confident because you have that trust, you have your own confidence that you are a good person and you have protected the morality. So this develops some sort of confidence, and therefore among any type of crowd you can say deliver a speech or any type of a thing. So that is there. And again Buddha mentioned, when you are dying you can have a serene death, you can die mindfully. And on the other hand, again Buddha mentioned after the death you may get a rebirth in a happy state. Now, actually recalling your own virtues is a type of meditation. It's called sila anusati. You know, there are different kinds of recollections: Buddha anusati, Dhamma anusati, Sangha anusati, etc. Now, sila anusati is one of such recollection where you can recollect about your own virtues. And when you know that it is untorn, it is unbroken, unspotted, unsplattered, and you are sort of doing it, which is conducive for the concentration, and nobody has blamed, rather everyone start to praise about the way you are maintaining your precepts. So then actually this becomes a lot of uh, anavajja sukha, what we call some sort of happiness coming through your own correct behavior, righteous behavior. And this is a kind of a development of the self-esteem, or kind of a self confidence, and you feel that you deserve something more. Now say for example, in order to meditate, you need to feel that you are a better person, you are a good person, there are no regrets and there are no remorse. And on the other hand, if you feel that I deserve something more, I deserve some more development in the spirituality, then you are confident, now you are going through it. So that is why Buddha mentioned, when you are maintaining untarnished, uh, unspattered type of morality, so it is more and more developing kind of a inner joy, which helps to utilize in the meditation as well. Actually, when you sit, once you close your eyes, you feel comfortable, you feel at ease, and you feel joyful, and that is helpful to develop, say, concentration and wisdom. And when the mind is headed straight, that means straightforward, and then the sense of a goal is there, that I want to do this, this is my motivation, this is my target. So this kind of a proper clear say target, objective is visible, and then you gain some sort of a confidence of the Dhamma, because now you are living according to the Dhamma, and you are confident about it. It's not that you are trying to cheat others, rather you are honestly doing it, and you now feel connected with the Dhamma, and as a result of that, joy arises. As a result of that, rapture arises. And when the mind becomes rapturous, it develops tranquility, the passaddhi. And when the mind and the body is calm, serene, tranquil, it easily gets concentrated. So this is how actually the morality as a kind of a cause slowly conditions or slowly causing various other benefits of the spirituality, various other very valuable benefits of of our spiritual life. And there's another interesting sutta called Kalyana Sila Sutta, where Buddha directly mentioned who is the person with admirable virtues. Katancha bhikkhave bhikkhu Kalyana Silo hoti. Ida bhikkhave bhikkhu Silava hoti. Patimokka sangvara sangmuto viharati. Achara gochara sampanno. Anumattesu vajjesu bayadassavi. Samadaya sikkati sikkapadesu. Now, actually, the precepts that Buddha recommend is not some sort of enforcement of laws, or kind of commandments or orders. Rather, we willingly take it and we willingly undertake it. We request from a, say, monk. Maybe we go to the shrine room and we request, out of sympathy, please give me these five precepts. Out of sympathy, please give me eight precepts. Out of sympathy, please ordain me and provide me the Samanera precepts. Out of sympathy, please take me to the higher ordination. So likewise, it's a kind of a request coming from the individual that who is going to practice it. It is not that the teacher or any the other competent authority is putting any sort of enforcement, but rather you willingly yourself go and request, seeing the benefit. But the problem is at the beginning sometimes we can't see the benefit. So therefore, sometimes when our parents are observing precepts, okay, as children we also go and observe precepts without much of a knowledge. But as we are improving, as we are growing in Dhamma, so more and more one become competent of understanding the morality, its benefit. Now, when he is observing precepts, he has this kind of understanding, so he willingly protect it, and no one is necessary to observe him. Now, say for example, if you are with the crowd, and assume that you are protecting precepts, but when there is no one, if you are violating precepts or you are transgressing the precepts, so that means you haven't understood. You don't need a kind of a group, kind of a crowd, in order for you to protect the precepts. Even when you are alone, you have the attitude, you have the wisdom, and again the kind of inner motivation to protect the precepts because you understand its value. So this is where Buddha mentioned that kalyana sila, that whoever a monk, a layperson is virtuous. And on the other hand, he see the danger of even transgressing a small, say, small precept. So even a slightest mistake, he see a danger of making. So he try to correct himself more and more, refine his morality, and having undertaken training rules and seeing danger, he doesn't want to do even a slightest mistake, slightest fault. And this is the person with an admirable virtue. This is a person with an admirable virtue according to this Kalyana Sila Sutta. And actually, if you consider the Noble Eightfold Path, so as you know, it is the three trainings, three Sikha, uh, Sila Samadhi Panya, and Sila actually helps to develop concentration. Concentration develops to helps to develop wisdom. Again, wisdom helps to develop further refine morality, and morality further helps to develop wisdom. So likewise, these three Sikha, these three trainings actually have some sort of an interrelationship. It's not kind of a linear, rather they are showing some sort of an interrelationship. So sila in that sense helps to samadhi, and again it helps to wisdom as well. And similarly, concentration helps to sila, concentration helps to wisdom as well. Wisdom too helps to refine morality and to maintain proper samadhi. So likewise, these three sikha are interrelated. So if you consider Noble Eightfold Path, so the Sila Sikha comprise of three parts, that is the right speech, right action, and right livelihood. So Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, and Samma Ajiva. So when you are maintaining that kind of morality, so as I mentioned earlier, so you don't have any remorse, you don't have any regret, and on the other hand you have some sort of inner joy, confidence, and as a result of that you feel comfortable, you feel at ease, you feel happy, you feel even rapturous, and you feel tranquil, and it leads to the development of the concentration. And when the mind is concentrated, you can see things clearly, you can investigate various phenomena, and then the possibility of developing vipassana or the wisdom is available. And now, actually, as a last point, this is a very important thing. So, I thought of discussing the results or the consequences of breaking precepts, because sometimes people ignore these things, thinking that these are not necessary or these are something old. And nowadays, we are living in the 21st century and we don't need to consider these. So, likewise, people are sometimes underestimating the value of the precepts, so therefore they even break precepts. And in this sutta, Duccharita Vipaka Sutta comes in the Anguttara Nikaya. So Buddha mentioned the results, consequences of breaking precepts. There's a common thing, common result highlighted in each and every precept. So when, say for example, in the first precept, if one is breaking that precept, Buddha mention if one is indulged, developed, pursued in something that leads to hell, leads to rebirth as the common animal, leads to the realm of the hungry shades. Now this is common to all the precepts. So if one is transgressing any precept, so it can lead to a person hell, to the hell in the next life, and to the rebirth in the animal realm in the next life, and again to the hungry gods, Peta, in the next life. So this is quite a common result, consequence, when we consider the old precepts. But on the other hand, if we consider each and every individual precepts, they are contributing something different depending on the context. Say, for example, if you are not considering others' lives, if you're harming others and killing others, so then Buddha mentioned, apart from the previous rebirths in the hell realms, rebirth in the animal realms, rebirth in the hungry shades, so Buddha mentioned, even if you get a human birth, you don't have a long life. So you might go through a kind of an accident, go through a kind of a disease, a terminal disease, cancer, etc. Because this is type of a consequence coming from long past. You might have done a kind of a killing that is now giving the fruits in this life. Now, if we consider the stealing, so if one is stealing, not respecting others' properties, not protecting, so if one is negligent in that sense and he is trying to steal, then Buddha mentioned the same previous consequences, having a rebirth in the animal realm, having rebirth in the hell realms, and having rebirth in the Peta realms. And on the other hand, to this particular precept, Buddha mentioned that when you have wealth and that is being stolen, that is being subjected to some sort of disaster, and you now lose your properties, it happened as a result of your previous karma, because you yourself have stolen certain someone else's properties. Now it is giving fruits in this life. Now here actually the third one, the illicit sexual behavior. So if one is continuing that kind of illicit sexual behavior, Buddha mentioned as a result of that, he or she may get the rebirth in the hell realm, maybe in the animal realms, maybe in the say ghostly realms. And on the other hand, and if you are having a human birth, then actually I mean, you have a lot of rivalry coming from others. Others are trying to take the revenge. So that sort of things can happen when you are undertaking the illicit sex. And on the other hand, even when one is getting the human birth and you become what you call pandaka, so we are yes, neuter. So this kind of things are there. So certain abnormalities in yourself is possible. And if we consider telling falsehood, so lying. So as a result of lying, again and again Buddha mentioned even to Venerable Rahula, so lying is something so critical. So don't do any sort of lying. And if one is lying being a monk, Buddha mentioned his monkhood is quite empty. There is no any essence. It's just an empty person. And on the other hand, in this particular sutta, Buddha mentioned if one is lying, he could be reborn in the hell realm, could be reborn in the animal realms, and could be reborn in the hungry shades. On the other hand, if you are getting a rebirth in the human realm, others don't believe you, others don't trust you. Even though you are telling the truth, even though you are finding something valuable, others don't trust you, because this happens because you have lied in the past lives. So you may be telling the truth but others don't trust. So there's something interesting actually, why sometimes we are telling the truth but others are not taking it, others are not believing it, they simply ignore it, or even they refute it. So these have some sort of a links to our past lives. And again, if one is maintaining what you call the pisuna vacha, divisive speech or tail bearing, so here, same results would be mentioned leading towards the hell realm, animal realms, and the ghostly realms. And on the other hand, if you did something like this in the past lives, or even in this in this very life, and as a result of that, and your friendships are being broken, you can't maintain a good relationship with another person due to certain reason. That sort of that friendship going to be broken because it happens as a result of what you did in the past. And on the other hand, the harsh speech. Now, if one is using harsh speech, some cruel words, bad words, I mean, not appealing words, others don't like to listen to it, quite harsh. And if you are using that sort of a language, put the mention as a result of that. So the same results put the mention like rebirth in the human hell realms, animal realms, and hungry shades. And on the other hand, as a special result, would they mention you might hear certain blames or unappealing sounds, etc., in this very life. So if we are getting a human birth, so these sort of non say disagreeable sounds, unappealing sounds may happen, so that you have to suffer because something is related to the past karma that you did using harsh speech. And chattering, the frivolous chattering, some pappalapa, Buddha mention the same results. And again, as the last thing, Buddha mention even when you are telling something worthy, others don't consider it valuable. So you may be telling very interesting point, very valuable point, but others don't consider it as a valuable point because you can see some sort of a connection between how you behaved in the past and how others are now treating you in this life. If one is reborn as a human, so as a result of the previous karma, so this kind of a situation is possible. And the last thing, Buddha mentioned about the say drinking alcohol and whatever the other fermented liquors. Buddha mentioned the same results like rebirth in the animal realms, rebirth in the hell realms, and rebirth in the ghostly realms. And on the other hand, so if you become a human, so your mind might be little deranged. So basically, certain deformities are there in your understanding, in your brain, and some sort of that sort of a deformations are possible. So these are the things actually I like to share with you. And with respect to morality, so it is not a kind of a beginner's work. It is something that we have to maintain throughout our lives. And with understanding, when one is maintaining it, then he become quite familiar with it. Actually, at the beginning only, we feel sort of it is difficult, but on the other hand, as you are familiar with these precepts, it doesn't become so difficult because you are used to it and you feel that these are valuable and you feel that you are getting benefited, and again you feel that others are also getting benefited and you feel the value of it, and therefore you are protecting it wholeheartedly. It no more a burden, and again you understand the benefits and you yourself experience the benefits. As I mentioned, you being protected and you being treated well, and you enjoy some sort of inner happiness, inner joy. So likewise, all these benefits you start to enjoy, you yourself start to experience, therefore you are willingly maintain it. So that is the value of the precepts, the morality. And with that, I like to conclude today's Dhamma sermon. Now maybe we can get on to the practice session for a guided sitting session. So I like to spend some time with you practicing guided sitting. May you sit in a comfortable position. You can relax yourself, keep your head straight, neck straight, shoulders in a relaxed position. Arms may be resting on your lap. Upper half of the body straight, and your legs may be bent, and your eyes gently closed. You can take a deep breath, hold it for some time, and then release. Again, you can take a deep breath, hold it for some time, and then release. Now you can check whether you can recognize whatever the thing I am asking or mentioning. So you can feel your eyes are gently closed and there are no wrinkles in your forehead or in the eyebrows because you are not thinking any sort of problem right now, but maintaining a very relaxed attitude. And if there are any thoughts coming pertaining to the past, don't entertain it, don't promote it, rather take your attention back to the body. So again, if your mind move towards the future, don't encourage it, rather slowly take it back. Use your posture as a kind of anchor to the mind. Again and again, bringing your attention back to the body. So we may be experiencing very ordinary type of experiences, but that is quite all right because they are happening right now. They are not imaginary stuff, rather they are real ones. They are present. They happen. And calm down yourself, relax yourself. And it is not a burden. You don't need to think this as a very big thing. Rather, it is a simple connection with yourself. Coming back home, connecting with yourself. Now, slowly, you can bring your attention to the nostril and try to recognize the in breath and the out breath. And still, if your mind wanders, you can note it. When you very well know this is the in breath, you can note it as in. And when you very well know the out breath, you can note it as out. Take it easy. Don't consider it as a big thing. Rather, enjoy it. Try to enjoy breathing. So you are open into the present moment. You are not rejecting any experience. Rather, you are ready to go through any experience. We are allowing the body to breathe naturally, and we are quietly observing it, carefully investigating it. If your mindfulness is well established, now you can try to recognize subtle aspects of the breathing. You can closely investigate in breath, you can closely investigate out breath, and even outside the breathing, what is available. So you are investigating the whole breathing cycle carefully, without any doubts, without any kind of glitches, without change in the posture, just maintaining a very pleasant, careful attention. Okay, I think we have come to the last part of the session. So if you like to share your experience, or if you have any uh, question related to the today's Dhamma sermon, or else if you have any question related to the past session that is actually based on generosity, or then you can actually raise your hand and put the question. That is Dhananjay. Mr. Dhananjay has raised the hand. Probably you can explain your question.
Theruvan Sarnai Bante.
Yeah,
It's lots of merits to you for clearing most of my doubts. I have two questions for you, Bante. One
yeah,
is under training rules, there are 227 for male monks and 311 for female monks.
yes.
Why the difference? And the second question is under percepts yeah, in Ajivattamaka Silaya, we don't consider the fifth one, that is intoxicants, permite, and distilled liquor. Why is it?
Yeah, actually, if I answer you the second question first, so in the Ajivattamaka Sila, the last precept is related to the correct livelihood. So typically, it is mentioned this taking intoxicants is considered in that. So when we consider correct livelihood, uh, so maintaining proper conduct, maintaining proper trade, and maintaining good life is actually considered. So if one is consuming alcohol and that kind of intoxicants, that is also coming under the Ajiva Attamaka Sila in the last one. So basically, in the Micha Jiva. So more and more you become mindful and diligent. So you understand. I mean, what is the harm of the making use of alcohol and whatever the intoxicants? So you are now trying to abandon them, because you know, even when you are without this kind without alcohol, it is bit difficult to be mindful, because your mind is wandering. You need some amount of practice to tame the mind, to develop the mindfulness. So on the other hand, when you are under the influence of alcohol, then you become completely vulnerable. You feel completely untamable, lost, heedless. It's complete opposite of mindfulness. So as a result of that, whenever one is developing mindfulness, slowly he may develop what you call the clear comprehension, sampajanya. And as sati and sampajanya go hand in hand, the very next result is the bayalajja. That is the what you call the hiriya nottappa, the moral shame and moral dread. That you feel shameful of using alcohol, and you feel shameful of using something other, any other thing, and you feel ashamed of breaking precepts. So likewise, this moral shame and moral dread is a result of developing mindfulness and clear comprehension. So therefore, uh, in the correct livelihood, in the Ajiva Attamaka Sila, this is fairly included, even though there is no separate rule, separate precept for Suramere or the liquor and etc. And the other question that you ask is the difference between the monks and the nuns. So actually, when, as you know, when Buddha established the Bhikkhuni Sasana, there were many issues that he has to go through, and there are certain criticisms, and he had to protect the females from any of the future kind of refutes, or any kind of future uh, blames. So likewise, I mean, there are many other issues that he has to consider, and as a result of that, so there are more and more concern when it comes to training roles of the nuns, even more than the male monks, more than the bhikkhus. So, for example, for the bhikkhus, there are only four parajika rules. Those are the most heaviest kind of transgressions. But for nuns, there are eight. And for monks, there are 13 Sangha diseases. For nuns, there are even more than that. So, likewise, there are such disparities available, and maybe due to the sort of the society prevailed in the Buddha's time in the India, and on the other hand, there are certain causes like nuns have to not too close but not too far from the monks monastery. So likewise, these are some subtle aspects that Buddha has considered when establishing nuns training rules, and could be the reason that later in the Buddha Sasana that they couldn't maintain it to that level, so ultimately it disappeared. So these are my thoughts related to the first question. Okay, anyone else has any question? Okay, I think there are okay, someone else there. Chitra Devi, yes, please go ahead.
Yes, Bante, now you spoke about the sila in detail, and to maintain that sila in a perfect manner, one has to put a lot of energy and be mindful. And for me, I think that in that process, you also you become a person who is trying to maintain the sila. And also that is number one, and number two, we you also said that we because of this cause and effect which the Buddha has spoken about so much, we can also change that cause so that we can change the effect as well. So I find sometimes to understand the exact meaning that the Buddha spoke about this non-self. There are occasions where this self and non-self become a little bit intertwined, and sometimes I think about it and I don't always get the answer. So I'm putting it to you to I have thought about it for a while, and because there are many times we have to make a self, and then at the same time we have to practice the non-self. So can you please explain that a little bit clearly?
Yeah, sure. Actually, when it comes to Sila and Samadhi, actually there is a self. So we can't say that we can develop a Sila, Samadhi at the very early stages without a self, because then we don't get much of a motivation. Assume that you
Yes.
are not a good person, you are with various misdeeds and misbehaviors, and assume that now only you go through or you come across Buddha's teaching, or you come across a good person and he advises you to behave like this. And first of all, you need to be a good person. Now you need to
Yes.
feel, okay, I was a bad person, I was a negligent person, but now I am a considerate person, I am a respectable person, I am a worthy person. So this is a kind of an inner feeling that you may get. So that deals with some amount of a personality, so that is
Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah.
But later, and even when you are developing concentration samadhi, there are also some amount of personalities there, because still we haven't come across the deep teachings of the Buddha. I mean, deep teachings are available at the latter half, or to the towards the vipassana. So we should not take those prematured. So we can't take the far away theory or far away principle without much of an understanding. And Buddha mentioned, whenever there is ignorance, so there is a eye making, there is mind making, there is sort of conceit, there is personality, there is self
Mm.
view because of the ignorance. But when you are addressing the ignorance, when you are trying to overcome ignorance, when you are developing vipassana, so at the latter stages, then you understand, okay, really there is no self. You, because it is not that you simply believe it, it is not something that you are simply blindly believe. Rather, you yourself has gone through fair amount of investigation. Through the investigation, you have understood, okay, there is no essence here, there is no any inner core here, there can't be any ongoing everlasting permanent soul here, that you yourself has seen. then it is no more a question. That is why even Buddha mentioned, say for example, in the Sabbasava Sutta. So
Yes.
if you are taking a personality view and start to think, then you may end up with lot of doubts, lot of sort of misbeliefs, wrong beliefs, a thicket of wrong views, etc. But on the other hand, as you are progressing in the practice, as you are progressing in vipassana, all these doubts start to slowly eradicated. It's not that you now understand that no point of thinking like that. You are not promoting that type of wrong thinking, and you know what to think and you know what not to think. That is why manasikaraniya and amanasikaraniya dhamma. So in the Sabbasava Sutta, Buddha distinctly mentioned there. So as the yogi is progressing, he know what exactly is useful to think, and he know exactly what is harmful to think. So he as much as possible avoids this harmful thinking, but encourage something useful, maybe yonso mansikara. Ultimately he may even encounter freedom of thinking. Your awareness is there, but there is no any sort of person thinking. There may be thoughts without a thinker. So these kinds of understandings, these kinds of insights, change his life, his way of thinking, his way of understanding. So at that moment, actually, this question may not come. I mean,
Mhm.
at the beginning, entertaining kind of a self view and using that personality view as an encouragement for the development of the morality, as an encouragement for the development of a concentration is acceptable and is useful. But later, same whatever the self view, the personality view, one may slowly abandon without any much of a friction. It happens because you have seen it by yourself. It is not just a belief, rather you yourself has seen it.
Yes. I
So
mean,
what
I suppose
happens
when you,
actually, what
sorry.
happened is that people without practicing, they simply try to borrow the teachings. They simply try to borrow some high-end principles, insights, and quickly try to apply without their own understanding. So then everything sort of kind of confused. And as you have mentioned, that some people even argue, okay, when you are killing someone, I mean, this is just the four elements, and here also just four elements. Knife also four elements. There is no harm. So likewise, people sometimes try to argue, but there is no point because complete ignorance is involved. And when one is ignorantly behaving, intention is there, so you are accumulating fair amount of karma.
Yes. So the thing is, when you're meditating, you do experience some of those things, but in the real life, you have to become a self sometimes. That becomes a
Yes,
little bit
yes.
confusing at times.
Exactly. So that is why sometimes Buddha beautifully sometimes put into similes. Say, for
Mm,
example, Buddha give a simile like, say, your children is now preparing a playhouse,
mm,
and they are using various sticks and maybe thrown away parts, and they have prepared a playhouse, and now they are inviting you also to their home, and now you are going inside their play home, but the mother as the father, you know exactly, I mean, this is not the real house, this is not the real home, but this is just a children's play. So the parents have that understanding, but say on the other hand, the children, for children, I mean, that's an entertainment that they take it for so serious. If someone breaks their say playhouse, then they'll be full sort of upset, and they be offended. And likewise, I mean, they are quite critical. But on the other hand, and the mother and the father, parents, I mean, they know. I mean, this is not the real house, but I am just going inside their home, their play home, just to convince them, or just to satisfy them, just to enjoy them. So likewise, Buddha mentioned even the Buddha and the Arahants. So they use these conventions, but knowing their limits, knowing that they are merely conventions. Yeah.
mm, Okay, Bante, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Shalika, are there any questions? If not, actually, you can announce if there are any other announcements, and
Yes,
probably we can wind up the session.
yes, Bhante, thank you so much for this valuable Dhamma talk on this very important topic. I want to give you like a few reminders. So one is actually there are some participants who have not registered, and so for you to get like updates and the reminders and recordings of the past sessions, I have put that link. Please use that link to register. Our next session is going to be on June 24th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is going to be Saturday, June 25th, 7 a.m. Sri Lankan time. Um, I think those are the two reminders I would like to, give it to you all. And thank you all for your participation and hope you have like a great weekend. Thank you.
Okay.
Teruna Sarnai Bante.
Yeah, yeah. Teruvan Sannai.